Dragon Queen, Chapter 11, First Flight.
So, what do you look like? Gerald took a huge bite out of a shiny, juicy apple. Your human form, I mean.
Aelwyn perched on top of a big boulder, her tail curled around a pile of more delicious red fruit. Well, I had long brown hair and pale skin. I usually wore green dresses, since Father said that was the color I looked best in.
Tall or short?
Short, I think. I haven't really been around many people my age. Aelwyn scarfed down a few apples, cider running down her chin. She wiped it off with the back of her paw. Mostly just servants and lords. My horses and cats were some of my best friends.
Oh, so you didn't really have any friends then?
Well, no. I had a kitsune friend. She and I did a lot of fun things together. We told stories to each other, read books, played in the garden, explored and hid in the castle, stuff like that.
A nine-tailed fox? Why was she in the castle?
Gerald threw an apple core over the side of the hill they rested upon. Aelwyn lowered her eyes. As you know, those who use Canaan's wands must use their own energy to cast spells. But a skilled sorcerer can take the energy of magical creatures to use instead. Kitsune generate a lot of life force.
So she was an energy slave, Gerald said.
No! She served my mother willingly. She considered it her duty.
What happened to her?
She was reassigned to a city on the other side of the country a few years ago.
Oh.
Gerald finished off his apples, disposing of the rest of the cores. Aelwyn stood up, arcing her back like a cat as she stretched. Her ears flicked in response to a few flies buzzing near her head. Her tail swayed gently back and forth. The air was the perfect summer temperature, just warm enough to be comfortable, yet the slight breeze added the right amount of chill to keep away exhaustion. The blades of grass lining the top of the hill contained spotted ladybugs perched on their sun-touched green tips. Leaves rustled through the massive oak tree Gerald leaned against, lines of ants carrying bits of apple marching toward the top. It was a serene scene, save for the waves of smoke billowing in the sky. Gerald propped his hands behind his head.
I have an older sister. She turned 22 a few months ago. I wonder if she misses me.
What's her name? Aelwyn sat back down on the sun-warmed rock. Gerald chuckled.
She likes to call herself Deathsong. Her real name is Kara, though. She taught me almost everything I know about combat magic. It's thanks to her we're alive.
Gerald rolled onto his side, gazing down the hill at the trees below. I'm glad we're going back. I want to see her again. I was so stupid to run off like that without even telling her or Dad and Mom. At least you found me, Aelwyn said. Not a total loss, running off. She tried to give a reassuring smile. A leaf fell on Gerald's head. He brushed it off.
So, ready to do some flying?
Aelwyn looked to the sky. Several white puffy clouds tinted with silver drifted by. A longing had sprouted in Aelwyn's heart ever since she had glided down in the city. A longing to fly. Yes, she breathed, subconsciously spreading her wings.
Okay, then jump off the hill and glide down a few times, Gerald said.
He closed his eyes as if he were taking a nap.
Aelwyn blinked.
That's it? Anything else you want to tell me, oh great teacher?
Huh. Sarcasm. Didn't know you were capable of that, Gerald mumbled.
He continued talking, ignoring Aelwyn's look.
It's not like I can really say anything else. You've already glided before, you just need more practice. Now go glide, my young student.
He rotated his hand in the air with a grand motion, then proceeded to give a dramatic snore. Aelwyn rolled her eyes and poised herself on the rock. Her wings snapped open in tandem with the excited beating of her heart. It is the instinct of all dragons to fly, and this one had been grounded for far too long. Her powerful back legs expanded, launching herself off of the rock while scraping claws against the stone. She moved through the air like a spear sharply thrown through water, cutting past the area around her. She made sure to keep her wings straight, afraid to move them quite yet. As the ground came quickly closer, she spread her legs forward in anticipation. Her feet crunched against the dry leaves. Wings swept forward, the wake of their pushed wind slamming into the rustling bushes. Aelwyn exhaled, a smile stretching across her fanged mouth. She treaded back to the hill and repeated the same procedure over and over again. She practiced with different ways of landing, getting smoother and smoother with her stops each time. Gerald stopped pretending to be asleep and watched her with interest.
All right, you're ready to start moving your wings. When you first launch yourself, flap them downward to make yourself get higher. Then, as you glide downward, try turning. Put one wing slightly lower and one slightly higher to change directions. Your tail can help too. Try it. Your sensei demands it. Gerald smashed a fist into his palm.
Aelwyn gave a curt nod and leapt into the sky. She pushed her wings down, giving a small shriek as she lurched upward. She lost her balance, tumbling back to the ground. A noise caused her to look back at the tree, and there sat Gerald, hand covering a giggling mouth. Aelwyn promptly blew a small ball of fire at him, which he understandably avoided. A few hours of bumps and falls later, Aelwyn was flapping her wings in the sky before gliding down while turning in various directions. She climbed back up the hill, panting heavily and smiling at her success. She collapsed before Gerald. Gerald gave polite golf claps, nodding while sipping water with a pinky up.
Excellent work, darling. My teaching is fit even for royalty, it seems, he said in a haughty, falsetto voice. Truly, I have been working hard.
Aelwyn grabbed the water jug from his hands, taking a few large gulps before giving a big sigh.
Yes, as princess, I give you my full recommendation. A royal flight trainer you soon shall be, dear subject, she said, responding in kind.
Wow, you've definitely got the royal voice down. Remind me to bring you with me when I try to convince my mom not to strangle me when I get back.
Aelwyn gave a nervous giggle, not sure if it would be appropriate to laugh at that. She rested her head on a large rock and blew a puff of steam from her nostrils. Can you tell me more about dragons? Biologically? She flicked her tail. I think it would be pretty handy to know about such things.
Gerald nodded. First of all, one of the main things to know about them is the difference between male and female. It's usually easy enough to tell by voice, but there are physical differences as well. In general, adult male dragons have spikes along the bottom of their chins, as well as spikes on their wings. Adult females have longer head horns and longer tails. Females are slimmer and slightly smaller, while males are more muscular and slightly bigger.
What about colors? Why am I red? Her ruby scales glinted in the bright daylight.
I don't really know how people turned into dragons get their colors. Could be part of the transformation constant, Gerald said.
And that is? Aelwyn motioned for him to continue.
Whenever a creature is turned to one of another species, it retains certain aspects of itself that, through all transformations, are constant. For example, if you were turned into a mermaid, your top half would still look the same as your human form, and your tail would likely have red scales. If you were changed to a wolf, you'd be mainly brown like your hair. It's one of the main rules of transmogrification.
Gerald stretched out his arms before yawning.
Anyway, if you're feeling up to it, you should start trying to continually flap through the sky, slightly over the treetops, then turn and fly back to the hill.
Aelwyn nodded. She was still quite tired, but knew that she had to learn and learn quickly. Tomorrow, once they were fully rested, their flight to Gerald's village would begin. Aelwyn's dreams were tumultuous that night. She found herself back at the huge field from her previous vision, but this time she was a dragon. Kanan still stood with his hulking body over the fissure in the ground from whence he had appeared. The light from the sky shone brightly in various shades. However, this time a new figure appeared. A large white deer with elegant curving horns floating above its head stood facing Kanan. It was just as big as the bear, its glowing white eyes flashing as it examined the god before it. Arya, Aelwyn thought. The deer is her symbol. Aelwyn's mind reeled back to when she had first visited the Kanan Cathedral in the capital, where the large golden statue of the great golden bear had been displayed. She remembered being confused when she saw a white marble deer posed under the bear, its head stomped upon by Kanan's paw. She had asked the witches about it, and they had explained to her how the deer represented Arya, the demon goddess who ruled the world in terror and treachery long ago. Kanan had come and subdued her, liberating the people and granting them magic. But why, then, can Kotuya use magic? The two giants were still standing proudly in an eerie silence. Éowyn shrunk back, whipping her head between the two. Kanan lunged first, slashing a huge golden claw at the deer, who dodged deftly and speared him through with her horns. The bear gave a feral roar before continuing to fight as molten gold seeped from his wounds. The ground rumbled, the sky thundered, the world around Éowyn faded to black. Phoenix calls signaled the start of a new day. Sunlight curled over the horizon, grasping its intangible limbs at the clouds. Éowyn gave a cat-like yawn and got up from her sleeping position, shaking her head. Gerald cracked open an eye and sat up. He peeked under the bandage on his leg and grimaced. "Just like I thought. I'm definitely gonna need stitches." Gerald winced and gave a long sigh, before loudly cursing at the wound as if it could hear him. Éowyn was tempted to laugh, but wisely chose not to. "Ready?" she asked, paws tapping the ground in anticipation. She'd practiced into the evening the day before, and felt she would be able to fly Gerald at least most of the day. She was quite proud of herself. She had worked hard and was about to reap the benefits of her labors. She lowered herself before Gerald, who gingerly clambered onto her back. He took 2 long ropes from his pack, tying one from his waist to around Éowyn's neck. The other secured his legs while going under her belly. "Just in case," he said, giving a nervous smile. Éowyn nodded, shifting her body in response to the uncomfortable rope. She faced to the south as Gerald guided her with his map. Blossoming sunlight kissed her wingtips. She spread her wings, her heart beating in anticipation. A sudden spark of pain caused her to wince. Her shoulder muscles had the same dull throb of sore muscles worked too hard the day before. Éowyn bit her lip. This was not going to be as easy as she had once thought. She climbed onto the top of the rock and crouched down like a cat about to pounce. And indeed, her muscles snapped open, launching her into the sky. She flapped them in strained motions before gliding on the warming dawn air. Mist permeated the sky, fogging over the forest canopy below. Her claws brushed against leaves anointed with dew. Tiny drops slid from their sharp tips. Gerald looked from the visible half of the sun to his map, calling out a slight direction change, which Éowyn obediently followed, adjusting her wings a bit too much and having to turn a little more. Éowyn smiled, watching the swaths of trees rush past her like a river of green. The thrill of the ride overcame the dull throbbing coming from her shoulders. She lowered her head and curled her legs under her, darting forward and parting the air. Her eyes glanced at the sky, where clouds exploded with oranges and pinks, while early risen birds flew in orderly patterns, their wing beats echoing the rise and fall of her chest. "Higher," her heart said. "Fly higher." Wings beat down, head shot up, body thrust into the heavens. Éowyn climbed toward the clouds. Gerald hung on for dear life. "Éowyn!" he cried. "You're not ready to go that high! The air is thinner up there! Plus, I'm on your back, and I don't particularly want to die by falling and then being crushed by a dragon!" Éowyn snapped out of her trance. She stopped flapping, simply gliding slowly downwards. Sorry. I got carried away." Éowyn exhaled. She faced herself back to the south, letting the gentle caress of the wind brush past her scaled cheeks. It was very quiet over the rest of the day. Gerald somehow was able to sleep while riding on the rough, scaled back of a dragon, and so Éowyn took over the map. Her eyes scanned the horizon for the landmarks carefully marked on it, heading towards the spot near the ocean tagged by a red circle labeled Home. They were almost there. Lunch break had been less than filling. They'd managed to scavenge some berries from bushes and found several more apples left over in Gerald's pack. It definitely wasn't enough for a dragon, though, and Éowyn felt pangs of hunger mixed with the strain of her wings as she journeyed on. "It's almost over. Just a little longer and I'll be back to normal," she thought, adjusting the rough rope chafing her soft belly. Back to human. Back to myself. The sun was setting now, darkness passing over the land like a mother tucking a blanket over her child. Éowyn's ears flicked backward, searching for suspicious sounds. There were none. And that was the problem. No birds sang, no babbling streams or even rushing wind. Silence took a deep hold over the twilight. Éowyn passed over the destroyed village, still smoldering. She recoiled in surprise as several large dragons burst through the canopy of trees near it, pointing their fanged snouts directly at her. Aelwyn's wings gave panicked flaps, causing her to lose her balance and almost fall. Gerald woke up with a snort, gasping and rubbing his eyes as he saw the plethora of huge dragons hovering before them. The head dragon snorted out trails of smoke from his nostrils. He glared at Aelwyn with piercing blue eyes.
"Young one, where are you going with a human strapped to your back?"
He pointed at Gerald with a green claw. Oh no, Aelwyn thought. They had passed by quite a few dragons on the way, but they'd hardly given her much of a second glance, likely because they had been too far away to see Gerald on her back. Aelwyn's mind rushed for the excuse she had come up with if she was ever questioned. She paused for a moment, pretending to catch her breath.
"Sir, you surprised me," she said. "I apologize. I am simply taking a prisoner to be investigated. He knows a lot about Surubi City, and we think he could be a valuable asset. That's why he is tied to my back."
"Why not hold him in your talons? Much simpler,"
the green dragon sniffed. Aelwyn gave a nervous laugh.
"I'm not familiar with the territory as much as I'd like. I need to hold the map."
"Let me see that."
The dragon snatched the map from Aelwyn, examining it with beady eyes. He pointed at the red circle.
"I'm assuming this is where you're headed?"
Yes. It was the human's map, hence the word home."
The dragon nodded.
"I see, but why is he being taken there? To my knowledge, there is no encampment or village there."
Aelwyn feigned confusion.
"Oh, I apologize. I must have gotten it wrong. No, that is where I need to go, but after I drop off the human at the city here." She pointed to a village near the circle. "I'm supposed to scout out the area in the circle." The dragon gave another curt nod, handing her back the map.
"Personally, I wouldn't have you travel alone. Would you like one of my own to escort you there?"
He pointed to a very buff-looking cyan dragon next to him.
No, it's fine, sir, but thank you. I really would like to prove that I can handle it on my own."
She gave a grin.
"All right then. Safe travels, young one,"
the green dragon said before diving back down towards the smoldering village, along with his scaly entourage. Gerald looked at Aelwyn in surprise. She let out a relieved sigh before continuing along her flight path.
Almost there. Almost human.
A nagging thought pressed the back of her mind. I wouldn't be able to fly as a human, would I? Or breathe fire? Or be protected by scales? She forcefully pushed those pesky ideas away. No, Aelwyn. You cannot save your kingdom while in the guise of the enemy. I must be human, and learn to wield magic just as my mother did to bring her country together. I must be like her. Right?